So here's the plan. I have this dart, I have that map. I'm going to throw this dart at that map, and wherever it lands, I will live there for as long as it takes to change someone's life. Now that could mean I live there for a day, it could mean I live there for a year. So I've made up two rules. Rule number one, wherever this lands, I go to the nearest city that is actually on the map. So if it ends up in the Pacific Ocean, I'm not going to buy a boat, I will find a city on the coast. And rule number two is basically where it lands, I'm going to put my finger there and I can choose a city within that radius. So if it ends up in the Grand Canyon, I can choose a nearby city instead of having to buy a tent. Now, I'm very stressed out by this because it's terrifying, but I have my blindfold here and I'm going to throw it in the camera so you know where it lands before I do. Here goes nothing. Okay, we're going to go with take two. Try to have a little bit better aim here and actually hit the map. Attempt number 3. And this time I'm just going to cover my eyes because I don't want to keep putting that thing on for the hours that this might take for me to learn how to throw a dart properly. So, here we go. That's the same spot. Oh my gosh.
2,000 years later.
My camera battery died. I have approximately 33,000 holes in my wall. Not a single hole in the map, but I figured I'd move a little bit closer and keep trying. I looked up a guide on YouTube to how to throw a dart, so maybe sometime this year we might be able to actually figure this thing out. I did not expect this to be such a problem. Okay, I'm gonna close my eyes. You see, you can't see my eyeballs. Can you see that? Hold on, I don't think you can see that. It's landed on the map, right there. I don't know where that is, because apparently I gotta figure out my tripod here. Sorry for being so close. There you go, a little bit wider. So I'm realizing now that I did not establish the rule that it has to be in the United States. That's not America. That's Vancouver, Canada. I guess I'm moving to Canada. Yeah, I came up with this idea after my breakup where I was gonna go somewhere where I threw a dart at a map, and wherever it lands, I move to. The caveat is I'm leaving my phone and social media behind, and basically like going off the grid, isolating myself. It landed in Vancouver, Canada. So the idea is I go to this foreign place, literally foreign, and
it's Canada.
Yeah, it's not too foreign. But yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna be there, but until I can like be proud of myself, I guess, and like really look at myself and say, wow, I changed someone else's life. And so I just want to go in a situation where I have nobody, no resources, no friends, no nothing, and then seeing if I can do it again. And until I can do that again, I'm not coming back.
Nice.
I mean, just meeting you a few times and following your story and knowing what you've done, I don't think you'll have to be there for too long.
Yeah, I mean, the hard part is like accepting it though. Because like I don't accept that I've changed Lexi's life. So yeah, that's the news.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
Not a bit.
And just like that, I found myself at the airport with no return flight. I was on a journey to prove myself. Not really sure what that even means. As I said goodbye to my family, I started to think about how hard it would be not talking to anyone for the foreseeable future. And that's when I realized that this was a terrible idea. The very important first step was to figure out what was happening in Vancouver so I can find a way to help. That means I needed to get out in the community and meet some people. Okay, no more excuses. Today's the day. I'm gonna head out there, experience Canada, and make some friends. I've been here about 7 days now. The problem is, as soon as I boarded my flight, that's when I realized this was a terrible idea. I thought that if I traveled to a new, scary place, and I wasn't able to talk to any of my friends or family back home, that I would become outgoing and overcome like a whole bunch of fears that I have. But it turns out I am just terrified. It being such a huge, giant, scary city back there, waiting for me as I open up the door, it's made me not want to leave. So I've just sat here in my apartment ordering food, but it's reached the point where I can't keep doing that. Like, I need to go outside at some point. And so today is the day. I'm going to attempt to overcome the anxiety and go out that door for the first time since I got here. Okay, you guys might have noticed that I'm going a little bit insane right now. And I just now realized that I am definitely going insane when I tried to go shopping. So it took me about 30 minutes to find this little guy, this little bit of garlic. Because when I walked in, it was super confusing. I didn't know what to do. And then I realized, wow, you should be able to find garlic really easily. I feel embarrassed even asking someone where I can find this garlic. So I wandered around for way longer than I should have, trying to find this garlic, which is to say, I'm not good. I'm not good at talking to people. And it made me realize that, like, if I ever want to go home again, I seriously need to come up with a plan. According to the internet, this is a list of 5 ways to make friends in a new city. And before you ask, yes, I did Google how to make friends, because being here is making me go crazy. And I need people to talk to, I need people to interact with, and I need to get out of this room. So we are gonna go through this entire list, or at least try our best. And of course, to start, number 1, go to a work party. So we're gonna cross that bad boy right off, because I don't have a job in Canada. So number 2, be kind to strangers. Okay, I'm just gonna save myself the embarrassment of what you're about to watch. The recommendations did not work for me. I tried to introduce myself to random people, but most of the time it went something like this. This elevator's fast, huh? I even tried to go to a video game tournament, but when I showed up, the front doors were locked. The point is, I was in a new city, completely alone, and when I looked around me, it was nearly impossible to meet new people. And just like that, we are out of options. I am running around town like a chicken with his head cut off, and I don't know what to do. I am going insane. It's been about 3 weeks since I've talked to anybody in my family, any of my friends. It's been about 3 weeks since I've talked to a human being. I've talked to my camera more than I've talked to people. And that got me thinking a little bit. I'm being very lame because I'm afraid of going out there. But the great thing about being here is I'm in a new country, which means that I can completely reinvent myself. It's a new year, new me kind of thing, you know? I'm here in Canada, haven't been making much progress, but maybe because that's 2019 American Dillon, and maybe it's time for 2020 Canadian Dillon. So Here goes nothing. Yesterday, I had the bright idea of shaving my head. I don't know, I guess I was thinking like, I've been here for a while, my hair's getting kind of long, and maybe I try something new. So I thought I'd shave it, and I turned on the razor, and I started to shave, and then the second that the hair fell down, and I looked at myself, I realized it was a really bad idea. So now I got this little patch here, but it got me thinking maybe I should talk to my therapist. But I think the real problem is forgetting why I'm here in the first place, and sort of not feeling motivated enough to really be uncomfortable, and forgetting, like, I'm here for a reason and I want to do something.
So yeah, maybe we can have a conversation about that too. Yeah, just today about the why. I think the why usually is what kind of gets, people, and I've seen it get you re-energized towards something, right? Because it's like, what you are doing is something that it, like you said, it's very daunting, it's very challenging. You do daunting and challenging things, and maybe even in your lexicon of what daunting and challenging is, it's pushing the threshold. But just remembering why, like why it is that you're doing this, why it is that you set out to do it, I think that will be helpful for you.
So why am I here? Well, last year I came up with this idea because I was going through a breakup, and like anybody, that meant I was having a lot of insecurities. I convinced myself that nobody really wanted to be around me, and so I said, okay, fine, I don't need you. I can achieve anything by myself. And when I got here to this new city, this new country, all these big buildings, no people around me, it was terrifying. And so I forgot why I am here, and that's to prove people that I don't need them. So I have an idea. I've had this goal that I've been working on for a pretty long time back home. I'm thinking that if I can achieve it here all by myself, that I'll kind of build up the confidence to be able to change someone else's life, like my main goal. So right now I'm leaving my apartment in downtown Vancouver, and I'm walking to a place called Lighthouse Park. This is about 20 kilometers away. So in other words, I'm going to try and achieve my very first half marathon. And so I brought all my gear here, mainly a bunch of change of clothes because I'm not really sure what to expect. It's pretty far away. It's a stupid idea, but I'm trying it anyway.
Left my happy home to see what I could find out. I left my folk and friends with the aim to clear my mind out. Well, I hit the rowdy road, many kinds I've met there. Many stories told me all of the way to get there. Ooh. So on and on I go. The seconds tick the time out. There's so much left to know when I'm on the road to find out. Ooh. I'll know, but on the way I wonder. Through descending snow and through the frost and thunder. Well, listen to the wind come howl, telling me I have to hurry. I listen to the robin's song, saying not to worry. Ooh. So on and on I go.
I'm here in Vancouver because I want to change someone else's life and learn to appreciate myself in the process. And that got me thinking a little bit. You see, I've already changed someone else's life. Lexi, she's a stage 4 cancer patient, and over the last couple of years, I have helped her cross off more than 50% of her bucket list. And how did that get started? The internet. I was sitting in my room and I messaged her on Reddit. How did I break my first world record? The internet. How did I meet my current girlfriend? Technically we met in high school, but I'd be lying if I said we didn't also swipe right. The point is, to achieve awesome things, I don't need to be extroverted. I don't need to be comfortable talking to strangers. I can do it from here. I can sit in the comfort of my home and still make things possible. And that's exactly what I did. I embraced the fact that going outside is terrifying to me and just looked for ways to help from the comfort of my couch. And it turns out Vancouver is a huge city, so tons of things are happening. But I saw a bunch of reoccurring headlines really. And Canada itself, the entire country, especially Vancouver, is going through a tragedy right now.
An air disaster that has killed 63 Canadians, one of the worst ever for the loss of Canadian lives.
Those on board included academics returning from holidays, newlyweds coming back from their wedding, and many, many students.
Happy families like the Sadekis from Winnipeg or the Hamidis from Vancouver. Their infectious smiles now gone.
A steady stream of people paying their respects to the owner of Amir Bakery on Lonsdale. His wife and 18-year-old daughter were killed in the plane crash.
I'm obviously not Iranian. I don't know any Iranian people, but seeing sort of the people that are now gone, it is compelling. It makes me feel like I should do something. So I spent some time today reaching out to people that I found in some of these articles and basically just asking, like, what can I do? How can I help this community in some way? And a guy responded back to me and he said, tomorrow there's a celebration of life for a family of 3 that died. A mom, a dad, and a son. And I saw the flyer for this celebration of life. And they asked not for flowers, but instead for donations to help the surviving family continue. And it's a short time frame, but I'm compelled to do something. So I'm going to try my best to get them a donation. I am making cake pops. So I'm making I'm making these really poorly made cake pops, which are falling down the sticks, because when I started my first charity organization, we made cake pops and sold them door to door. And that's how we made our first $100. Since then, when we started way back in high school, that organization has raised over $100,000. So cake pops have a little special place in my heart. Back then I had people to help me make them, but today the plan is to make a couple of these and sell them on the street to try and raise some money for the family. And I also brought dog treats because I need cardboard to make a sign.
Listen, if you don't hear what you can tell us, if it's good, you can tell us so. you can smile, but that's alright, my friend. Could be so nice, you know. If only you would listen.
Not surprisingly, no one wanted to buy my street cake pops, so it wasn't very successful, but at least we tried. And I do have a little bit of cash that we're going to be able to donate, so we're going to head on over to the funeral and pay our respects. I think I found the right place right here behind me, but the thing that I didn't think about, there's like hundreds of people and they're all wearing funeral clothes. I of course wore my brightest sweater, which I totally forgot about, so I'm a little bit uncomfortable, but we're here, we raised the money, so we're gonna get outside of our comfort zone, I guess, hopefully not disrespect anyone, of course that's not the point, so we'll see. It is impossible to describe how surreal it is to be in a completely different country, standing in an elevator with people that speak a completely different language, all to say goodbye to people that you will never meet. I landed in Canada a month ago, and for the first time since I got here, I finally felt like I was a part of something. I wasn't able to help the family as much as I wanted to, but it did help me realize that there is a place for me here. And things moved pretty quickly after that. I went downstairs to throw away my very hard-earned and much-enjoyed ice cream, only to come back up and realize I locked myself out.
Have you heard about the lonesome loser? He's a loser, but he still keeps on trying. Sit down, take a look at yourself. Don't you want to be somebody? Someday somebody's gonna see inside. You have to face up. You can't run and hide. Have you heard about the lonesome loser? Beaten by the queen of hearts every time. Have you heard about the lonesome loser? He's a loser, but he still keeps on trying.
I don't know how many of you have stood outside in the middle of Canadian winter in your pajamas, but let me tell you, That kind of situation really gets you thinking. Okay, I am trying to find my whiteboard, which I think might be over here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I came up with a plan for what we're gonna do here in Canada. And I'm acting crazy because we gotta move fast, but essentially it comes down to 3 steps, okay? And I'm going to attempt to write sideways and explain these steps out, which might not make a lot of sense when it's all said and done. Here's what I need so that my plan can work. 3 steps. Number 1, I need to find people to help me print out 300 pages of information. Number 2, I need to convince a Canadian citizen to co-sign a legal document with me. And number 3, which is gonna be the most challenging, I need to prove I exist. Now, step 1 was pretty easy. I expected to have to ask all the people I met recently if I can print a couple of pages at their house, but it turns out there's actually a printing shop right below me. We can cross number 1 off of our to-do list because we printed out all the documents we need. This right here is the New Societies Act of British Columbia. It describes how to create a nonprofit, a charity organization, here in Vancouver. And I want to do that because when I was standing outside in my pajamas, naturally that's a pretty weird situation, and so my mind got kind of wandering. I realized I'm here because I felt lonely, right? That's why I threw the dart. That's why I came here. And when I got here, I felt lonely. So lonely that I went crazy and shaved my own head. Like, that's not normal, right? Loneliness is not a fun thing to deal with. So what if our way of making a positive impact here in the city of Vancouver, the country of Canada, is to address loneliness in one way or another? So I haven't figured out exactly what we're gonna do, but I do know that we're gonna start an organization. And that's what these steps are. So since we crossed off number 1, we're gonna move to step 2 and 3. Turns out I was wrong. The first step to creating a charity in Canada is to submit a name request, which basically means sending a letter to the Canadian government. And while I waited to hear back from them, I realized that I have no idea what this organization is going to be doing. So I thought I'd take to the streets and ask people if they could help me come up with an idea. Well, you might remember Nasheed and Francis from earlier. We met, I don't know, maybe like a week ago or so. They are here helping me, and we're at University of British Columbia. The idea is to talk to students here, people that live in Vancouver, and ask them, hey, what do you think about loneliness? Are you lonely? Are you not lonely? And just learn a little bit more about how people feel about the topic. And I'm hoping that maybe we'll learn, hey, what can we do? How can we help that thing? If so many people are truly lonely, how do we make a difference in that way? So we're gonna do the very scary thing of talking to strangers and asking them a really deep question. It's probably not gonna work, but we're gonna try it anyway. I moved here and I read an article that said 46% of people here in Vancouver report being lonely. So I'm curious, I'm asking strangers, like, would you consider yourself lonely? And then my microphone broke. But I still kept asking people if they felt like they lived a lonely life. And I was kind of surprised that most people had the same answer. So many people said no that I started to feel like I was the only lonely person in the city. And to be honest, I didn't really believe them. So I thought I'd try again on a different day at a different part of the city. Excuse me, sir. Could you help us with the film project? Yeah, we had a pretty rough start. Would you consider yourself lonely? Over those 2 days, I asked 50 people if they felt lonely, but only 2 of them said yes. And that made me realize all of these people are filthy liars. Alright, that is being a little bit dramatic, but the point is, I know loneliness is out there, and it is not pleasant. I felt lonely enough to throw a dart at a map and run away to a new country. I felt so isolated that I thought it would be a good idea to shave my own head. But I also learned that once you have a good reason to go outside, the scary things become a lot less intimidating. So, while I am here in Vancouver, I am going to say it loud and clear. Loneliness sucks. My plan was simple: put together a board game night for the kind of people who don't want to go, the lonely people. I found a venue, put together a registration form, and then did my very best to promote the event.
On our show today on Vancouver Co-op Radio, we have a traveler. We've crossed paths with Dillon Hill, and he has randomly chosen Vancouver, and he's going to tell us about his, he's a filmmaker, and he's got a mission and kind intentions. So he will be our first guest, and I'd like to just ask you right to the point, like, what are you doing here, Dillon? What brings you to Van City?
The plan for me was to come here and be completely alone. And so when I left, I didn't bring a cell phone. I got rid of my social media, and it was really a process of really, in a way, torturing myself and being kind of miserable. And it was very much a mental thing. But when I got here, to answer your question about Vancouver, the people I talked to took me a couple weeks to finally start talking to strangers, because it is terrifying. But when I did, a lot of people sort of talked about that scenario of Vancouver feeling isolating.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, well, I had a biased opinion, but that was kind of my feeling too. It's really intimidating, and not necessarily because of Vancouver specifically, but it's just a big city, and there's a lot, everyone's moving so fast that it seemed difficult, intimidating. The way that I kind of wanted to get involved here was to address that isolation thing.
Yeah.
I know that as an American here for a short amount of time, I'm not going to change the city in a drastic way, but
You're not going to fix it for us?
As much as I would love to, I don't think I have the ability to.
Okay.
But basically what I came to, just talking to people that I felt were similar to me, and that are frustrated with feeling alone, which is something I feel a lot of people who feel similarly. Really, it's just kind of motivating yourself to get out of the house, finding a reason. So I just wanted to put on a small little event. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. We're having a little board game night for strangers, really. And the way I've been sharing it is for the kind of people that hear that there's a board game night in Vancouver and they really don't want to go outside and go. It's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay, so you want the introverts to come out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I have one more thing that I need to do before my event tomorrow. Thinking about loneliness so much, I've realized I am lonely. And that's a really hard thing to admit. But the truth is, all the things I struggle with in my life kind of go back to that in some way, right? Walking up to a stranger and trying to be nice to them and talking to them is so scary, because I feel like they wouldn't understand where I'm coming from. Or even opening up to people that I know, and all these different things, it ultimately comes down to just feeling like nobody understands me. And so I guess coming here was a result of that. I was trying to run away from my problems. That isn't really a healthy mindset to have. I've been complaining about something that happened a year ago because it made me feel bad. What I haven't talked about is my current girlfriend, my family, my friends, all the people back home that I left, right? And it took me coming here to a foreign country and running away and doing this unnecessarily drastic thing to realize loneliness is a mindset. And it's a mindset that I allowed myself to dwell on and get sucked into. But that's not how to handle it. That's not healthy. What I should have done, and what I've realized now, is getting over the barrier of allowing other people in. It's scary, it's embarrassing, you aren't sure what to expect. But if you let other people be a part of your life, at least in my case, I think you'll be genuinely surprised the lengths that they are willing to go to be a part of it if you just let them. And on that topic, I have somebody at the door waiting for me. I invited my girlfriend to Canada. As I waited for the event to start, I thought about all of the people that my message reached. Through all of the promoting I did, over 50,000 people heard my message that loneliness sucks. I received 22 emails and phone calls from people thanking me for finally talking about this problem, like this one from James, or this one from Sarah. Over 100 people signed up to play board games together. I picked out all my favorite games, set the table, and prepared for a night of finally making an impact here in Canada. All we had to do was wait for them to show up. But they never did. Not a single person. Now maybe that means this is a lonely city, or that I never stood a chance in changing someone's life. Or maybe I went through all of this to finally realize that I am not alone. There are people out there that believe in me, even when I try so hard to prove them otherwise. I spent 2 months isolated in Canada before I finally realized my life was the one that needed to be changed. And I know that's kind of cheating, but once I let people in, I wasn't alone. I overcame the desire to run away by inviting my girlfriend and family to join me. And because of that, going outside wasn't so scary. I went ice skating. Did an escape room. Almost got hit by a bus. Oh, Jesus Christ! Actually got ran over and had to call an ambulance. Yeah, that was like a whole ordeal. But anyway, when they left, I found myself alone in my apartment once again. But this time, it was okay.